everyone. It's an honor to be here. When I was called to participate, I wasn't clear I'm going to be the first speaker in the morning. So it's a real honor to be here. I'd like to thank the organizer for reaching out. It's a great opportunity to share what we've been going through, and I hope I can inspire one or the two, or at least give a certain perspective of what we're doing. As introduced, I'm Bjoern, Global Head of Supply Chain located in Amsterdam. And feel free to reach out via LinkedIn at any time. You find much more details than I can spend time on now. So what I like to do is first introduce a bit Henkel. I guess hopefully all of you know or use our brands, but maybe there's one aspect of it you don't know, and that's the business I'm in. So let's spend a bit of time to set the stage, and then talk about the customer experience challenge we have, and we had addressed, and the transformation around it, and hopefully this is good for you. And then some key learnings which we took from that, and maybe that's something to watch out if you go for a similar journey. So Henkel has in two big businesses. One is the more consumer business, and that's the brands you know, I hope you use. This is Persil. This is all the beauty products, especially for the women, maybe Schwarzkopf, not for me, but for many of you, it might be a well-used brand and all in your household. And then there's Adhesive Technologies, that's really half, 10 billion each one of them. And these are the businesses which we, most of them is B2B, but we have some really serious brands out there. Loctite alone is a 3 billion brand in the B2B business, but there are also some brands which are maybe more familiar, like Pritt Stick at home, that's also coming from us. So Henkel has 147 years of experience as a company, so not truly a startup, you might say, and we are a 20 billion business. And obviously, given our family background being founded and also partially still in our shareholders, we have a high commitment to CO2 emission reduction. We did this, 60% of our operations reduced since 2010. And obviously, diversity and inclusion is high on our agenda. So what is adhesive business about? So it's actually all around you, and you might not realize. So we provide for the automotive industry, not only the combustion engine, the traditional business, but also for the electro market, the gap fillers. So we provide to all OEMs first tier our products. So that's around 20% of our business, but even in the metal business, so the Coca-Cola can or any tint bottle you might use, there's our product. We also are in packaging consumer goods, 1/3. So that is really the shoes you're wearing. Between these parts, there is certain glues. There's certainly, from us, we provide this to all major brands out there as well. So then semiconductor packaging business, a very complex business in the chips. We are in the airplane you've been flying over here. We are in military applications, so very, very confidential and complicated business with high requirements when it comes to temperature as well. So, and then we have the whole do-it-yourself, so everything you can buy in the do-it-yourself stores for your home renovations and professional. So we are essentially all over the place. We're in, I would say, most of the bill of materials of any industrial company. You will find a little piece who makes the difference, which comes from us. So what does this mean in terms of operations? So a bit calibrate on what we're talking about. So alone in operations of this part of the business of Henkel, we're talking about around 14,000 people. All those dots are our own plants, so you can't even see Europe. So this is really own plants, and I'm not talking about third-party manufacturing. Annual cost around 2 billion, total supply chain cost. We have 300,000 active materials, so this includes obviously also semi-finished goods and raw materials. And we process around 1 billion order lines a month. So that's the ecosystem we're talking about. And if you love complexity, that's the place to be. If you try for something else, then I would recommend a different business. So now, when you have that in mind, what does customer experience mean? We're talking about 150,000 customers from the very small to the very big. And I want to calibrate a bit where we start from. So I'm pretty sure this rings a bell. Yeah, so that's empty shelf. I guess this is when everybody in your family and your friends finally understood what you're doing, because everybody realized there is a supply chain behind those things. Yeah? So, but definitely not the moment you want to shine, but that's what supply chain was perceived. Similar this one, yeah. Again, obviously everybody got the touch because a lot of things came late, etc. But again, supply chain perception is about this one or this one. So during the pandemic, we had around 1,000 of those cases where we have to actively manage allocations and disruption, and on average we have hundreds of them. Because again, we serve all industries. We're everywhere. Any shock in the system at one point will affect us. With 120 plants, you can see we are always in the back of all of that. Now look at this one. That's certainly a happy customer or consumer, yeah? Don't think you would think about supply chain in the first place, right? Or this one, again. Well, there are goods in there, someone had made them, someone had delivered them, somebody made this person happy, but first thinking is not about supply chain. Or this one, right? You can see one of our products, Patex here. Hopefully this little girl is happy again, but anybody thinking about supply chain? I guess only maybe some here in the room, but in general, you would not attribute these happy moments to someone working in our profession. Again here, there's a phone on the table, our product is in there, making it actually waterproof, etc. Coffee, the watch, the eyeglasses, everywhere where two materials come together, most likely we have an application for. So the question is, these are all happy people, but nobody thinks about supply chain in that context. And there's a reason why. And we work with Gartner on this and also with Deborah. And essentially, the bottom line is that companies starting from a certain size really struggle to get a cohesive, holistic, outside-in view of their customer experience in the company supply chain. We are so big, we are so complex, that we rarely even get in touch with customers, and so we lose sight of customers. We are functionally experts in logistics, in planning, in customer service, which is part of it, but we actually lack the ability to see our customers. So what for a mom and dad shop is very clear: the customer comes in, it's served, if he's not happy, it's immediate impact, you change the process here. It's definitely lost in translation somewhere in our large organization. Now, this was our starting point, and we went bold. We said, we believe supply chain, also inspired to what I see outside there, even in a B2B environment, can make a difference. We're not only the guys on the bottom line with logistics costs, with inventory, but we actually can play top line. So with our CEO at that time, we came up with this mission to position supply chain different, and that was a year before Corona started. So we said, we want to actually establish an amazing customer experience as a competitive edge, because we believe being the market leader in our segments, having the size, the long-term vision, we can work on these things where maybe our competitors in the various aspects do not have the guts, the finance, and the long-term vision to do so. So while it's not really clear whether these persons are scared or amazed, yeah, the question is, how do you make this real? How do you actually create it? It's easy to put on a slide. So what we did is, okay, let's start understand where we are today. So our approach as a mainly B2B business was really looking at the outside world, right? What's good for Henkel? Let's make it work outside. So generally a one-size-fits-all approach, some differentiation. We have some, obviously, customer segmentation. We have some business rules around it, but always looking on how do we actually take advantage of our scale. When we buy companies, integrate them, first thing is how do we make advantage of our scale? So it was really our view on the world. But the first realization is if you work on an experience, it happens out there. Yeah, it's not something we in operations are really used to measure an experience, but it's actually something on the other side. So we said, okay, let's turn it around. Let's start to understand how they look at us. How does our customer look at us? And we realized actually there's not one size fits all. We have customers, industry segments who like our innovation power, our solution that we transfer ideas from one industry to another. So it's really our product range, it's our capability to provide quality across the globe. So it's the quality aspect. Sometimes it's price because we can play our scale. And even in supply chain, there's a big difference whether it's about reliability into the automotive sector or maybe it's about speed in the retail space when an empty shelf is a lost shelf and you can't really recover. So very different perspectives. And we started understanding that if we want to make all of them having an amazing experience, we can't treat them the same. So we needed to go and differentiate in customer types. And we also believe that once we are there, we actually can really differentiate and get the next level of efficiency, which means actually avoiding overserving and rather invest where we underserve. So there's a real opportunity out there, even for a traditional perspective, where we want to go for our efficiencies. So what we did is we talked to our customers, trivial, but in a big company like ours, wasn't so familiar that actually internal supply chain people go all the way out there, convince salespeople that we can talk about business with our customers. So we went there, had lots of interviews, lots of them actually during Corona on a virtual basis, and found out that's actually not as complex. There are customers who really like our innovation. So that's something we can support in supply chain. There are those which like our quality, so all around the product characteristics. And then there are those which really want our visibility. They want to know because they plan their production accordingly. So it's all about visibility. Their number one is visibility, and they're willing to pay if we provide that. And the fourth one is reliability. So you can boil that whole complexity of 150,000, 500 industry segments into 4 different. And obviously, if you ask someone, he would always say all 4. But if you make these choices at one moment, you distill what's the key. So we understood this is what we need to go for. And the question is, so how can we make this real? So we translated this into a mission to establish customer experience as a competitive advantage by creating a customer-centric and integrated supply chain approach. So 3 building blocks. One, obviously, the integrated, because if we want to see the customer as a whole, we need systems who can exchange data, who put the customer in the middle. So very much the digital capability we have in our supply chain needed to upscale, and I will talk about in a second what we did. The second one is competitive advantage. So if we really want to be there and work on an amazing experience, we have to stop looking at our internal measures. Our internal service KPIs were very much skewed by our internal KPIs, by people changing dates. So we had to get rid of, and I will talk about what we did to actually go for the real customer perspective outside in our measurement and take out any skews. And the third one, talk a bit about it, is really shaping the culture. Because all nice, you put some tools, you put some incentives, but the question is everybody of those 14,000 people really thinking from the customer perspective? Because you can get it deadly wrong if you mix up speed and reliability. Yeah? The customer wants it next week, Monday, you come on Friday, you think you're fast, you're speed, but the customer, well, Friday, I don't want it, I'm not prepared to receive it. So it's not always better to be fast. So let's show you a bit about the digital capabilities. So we built a pyramid. We started with the differentiators. So these are the ones where the touch point of our customers are. And we understood that sampling is very often the first touch point for those customers looking for innovation, where they are exposed to our customers. So sampling need to be top notch, the sampling experience. Obviously, this is what everybody understands. These are the touch points. But to make this happen, you actually have to invest in some what we call fundamentals, and these are more the heavy ones. So the Service Cloud we implemented for our customer service, and new performance, supply chain BI, working on the data standards to really have the shipments to build in our systems to track and trace. And I will not go through all of them, but this is really where non-supply chain people would not necessarily understand what we're talking about, but they understand that if you want to have the differentiators, well, we need to invest in the fundamentals, and that's how you actually drive then the right investments in the fundamentals. And then the efficiency layer to fuel the whole thing, to continue delivering on bottom line, where we started with process mining, but also more automation, OCR for our orders, etc. So it's a holistic program, and I will share some elements just illustrative to that. So once about sampling, so we managed, at least for partially of our business, to really provide an up-to-date information flow. I would say in the B2C, actually very much trivial. Yeah, if you order something from the big brands, in the B2B, we're actually, I think, still one of the few to do so. Second, complaints experience. As I said, the focus was very much on resolving the problem, right? That's certainly we should do, but it's all about the transparency of a customer around that process. Yeah, what is going on? When do I get the next reply? So we built a workflow with clear defined touch points, and essentially translating this in over 60 languages for us is not as trivial as you think, and aligning on all the GDPRs and all that stuff. So we learned a hard lesson, but essentially we made it happen. So that's all about examples of behind that what we've been doing. Now, competitive advantage is obviously the key, because how do we know that we're on the right track? How do we know that the experience is improving? That's all what it is about. And we reviewed our #1 service KPIs, which was very much a one-size number principle, where people were touching the system as often as they pleased to actually get the KPI above 90. So we deconstructed and said, actually, we need 2 KPIs. One is, do we really understand the expectation? That's, I think, the holy grail. So even if that expectation is impossible, there must be a reason why somebody wants it today or tomorrow. So really going for the expectation. And the other one, okay, let's go about reliability. Do we keep our promise? So we separated those two. We have now 2 KPIs, and actually we also bring in more track and trace data. Now we actually have the actual time of arrival against what was requested. And we keep that first one, and even if we can't deliver, we know that's ultimately we have to work on to get the expectation right with our customers. And the other one is really the communication piece. So again, people had to learn that there's a difference, and that helps us to keep the customer expectation while we still can do certain things different today, but we at least are reliable. So we built this in our supply chain BI system, and we have now dashboards. It's all very good. People are accountable, you can see. So individuals are tracked. We can break that down on all levels. So I think the organization now has a real guidance to get there. The third element, and obviously we do NPS and etc. So, but for time reason I can't go in. This is really the one which replaced our top KPI for the entire operations team. The third one is the most complex, because you talk about the cultural change. Yeah, you can change certain systems, you can certain data sets, but how do we actually work on that people understand if we get that wrong, we actually will not be able to perform accordingly. So we started where most of the touch points are, which is the customer service. So this is where people, let's say in sales and in management, also think the experience happens the most. I would say the preconditions for that is actually happening in operations and in other elements. But essentially, we build a full transformation for this part to start with, building the team, then building up all the elements. We reorganized the organization. We built now front-end teams who only care about the experience, and back-end teams who do the order entry. So we redefined what customer service means from an order entry to an experience manager, separating the roles. We brought in Service Cloud from Salesforce to really be able to do workforce management. So we know how often they call, we know how long they wait, we can really work, and we have an integrated NPS system. So really proud of this, and let's see how this will evolve, as we now obviously will see how much of that task can also be automated over time. Good, so 5 takeaways for me, and maybe some of that resonates with you. You need to connect to a company strategy. Yeah? If that wouldn't have had the support from the top, you can't go for that. It's not traditional operations approach, at least to B2B, so you need to be connected, and I guess the culture of Henkel allows for that. Also novum and maybe also trivial, but you need to really directly talk with customer. This gives you the authority, the competence to argue, and essentially you take out the filter with salespeople sometimes put in between you and them. The initiative mix, different stakeholders want to see different things, so you have to cover that. Some go more for efficiency, some more want the catchy things, and obviously the functional experts want to see that we work on the right fundamentals as well. And then I think what was the best approach we did, we have to do lighthouses very fast because some people cannot be convinced with slides. That's good so. They actually need to see it. They need to touch it. They need to have the experience. So go first for proof of concept, then into pilot, and then scaling. But make it sure people can be persuaded by reality. And then one learning, maybe because of our size, go slow to go fast. Yeah? So it's very easy to create something shiny, but then you lack the backbone and essentially you fall. So I truly believe go slow to go fast, at least in ours, and with our 140 years of background is the right approach. So yeah, hope you got something out of it, and thank you very much.